This is section 3.2, part 1. We're still solving linear systems, but instead of using the graphing method as we did in section 3.1, in this section we're going to look at another method. It's called the substitution method. So we can still see we have a linear system of two equations. Alright, so the substitution method, substitution means replace. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to solve either the first or second equation for x or y. That's your first step. You're going to solve one equation for either x or y. It doesn't matter. You can solve it for x or y. So to make your life easy, try and find an equation where you can see that one of the variables has a coefficient of 1. That's the easiest thing to do, and you're going to see that will occur in this problem. So coefficient, remember, is the number in front of the variable. So looking at the first equation, coefficient of 6, coefficient of 3. Could work, alright, but it's a little bit more work than the second problem. Here we see a coefficient of 3, coefficient of 1. If you can find an equation with a coefficient of 1, that is going to be the easiest variable to solve for. That's just a suggestion. Alright, it doesn't really matter which equation you solve for y or x. Right? It should work if you do the algebra properly. So, but we're going to take the easiest route. So I'm going to start with the second equation here, which is 3x plus y equals 5. And I'm going to solve that for y in this case, because y is a coefficient of 1. So it's a simple one-step move. Alright, I'm going to bring over the 3x. 3x minus 3x is 0, so that cancels. And I'm left with y equals negative 3x plus 5. Once you do that, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to substitute the value. In this case, it's the value that you solve for, so the value for y. So I'm going to substitute. This is the substitution method. So substitute, which means replace. Alright, the value of y into the equation you didn't use. So what equation didn't I use? I used the first or the second equation, 3x plus y equals 5. So my unused equation is 6x plus 3y equals 12. So I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to come down and use 6x plus 3y equals 12, my unused equation. So it says substitute or replace the value of y. What does y equal? Whatever y equals is the value of y. So we're going to substitute negative 3x plus 5 into y of the second equation. So that's where I see y here. Alright, so that is what's getting substituted. So I'm going to rewrite this equation, and I'm going to say 6x plus 3, and instead of y, I'm going to write negative 3x plus 5 equals 12, because y equals that. So if they equal it, you can switch them out. You can swap them out, substitute them, replace them. So now notice, instead of having an x and a y, how many variables do I have? I only have x's. So I'll be able to solve this equation for x and find what x equals. So first step is the distributive property. So I'm going to distribute in this 3. So I got 6x minus 9x, because 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. 3 times 5 is 15, equals 12. 6x minus 9x gives me negative 3x plus 15 equals 12. Subtract 15 from each side. and I get negative 3x equals negative 3. Divide by negative 3, x equals 1. So x equals 1. So what did we do here? Alright, the next step would be solve for x. That's what we just did. And after we solve for x, I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to say substitute or replace the value of x into the equation solved for y. So what does that mean? Well, the value of x is right here. What does x equal? 1. So we've got to find the equation we solved for y, and that's right here. This is the equation solved for y. Y equals negative 3x plus 5. So that's what that equation is. Y equals negative 3x plus 5. So I'm going to take that equation, y equals negative 3x plus 5. I'm going to substitute in the value of x, which we said was 1. So y equals negative 3 times 1. So when x is 1, what's y? Y is negative 3 plus 5, and y equals 2. So when x is 1, y is 2. Alright, so my solution is 1, 2. This is your solution. How do we know we're right? We've got to check. Alright, so that's the next thing which we're going to do. We're going to check, and remember, you check always with the original problem. So what were the two equations in the original system? The first one was 6x plus 3y equals 12. And the second one was 3x plus y equals 5. So I'm going to check this solution. Remember, it's x comma y. So I'm going to plug in 1 for x, and I'm going to plug in 2 for y, and evaluate the left side. So 6 times 1 is 6, 3 times 2 is 6, 6 plus 6 is 12. That equation checked. I need to check the second one. Plug in 1 for x, 2 for y, 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2, 3 plus 2 is 5. So the second equation checked. So we're comfortable knowing that 1 comma 2 is the correct answer. So that's an example for solving by substitution.